How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about Lucid. It had a strong day during regular trading hours, but it ended up releasing their earnings. They had a pullback. We'll talk about it further in this video. I won't waste any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder, you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is the technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know what it looks like in the bearish case scenario and as well as in the bullish case scenario. And then we're going to go on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information. The reason this is important because it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know the buying and the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis for Lucid. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $28.98, being up 9.98%. On the low, it tested $26.17, and then on the high, testing $29.05. And inside of the after hours at the time of this recording, it is trading at $25.42. So it did witness quite the pullback. We'll talk about that later in the video. When we take a look at our volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 48.467 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 29.25 million shares. So we did have above average volume on the day, and it's part of the reasons why we saw some strength in the stock during regular trading hours. When we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, you can see from the RSI down below, it is at 48.35. And then when we take a look at our moving averages here on the chart, we are below the 100-day, the 50-day, the 200-day, but we are above the 21-day EMA. But keep in mind, we have to take into consideration the after hours. It ended up having a strong sell-off, and now it's kind of chilling here around $25.42. So going into the open tomorrow, I can see this pullback continuing even further. And what level I'd want to see hold up would be right here at $24. If it breaks through $24, then we could potentially get all the way down here to around 23, and breaking through this level will bring us down to test this low we had over here, and that's where I could say the stock could go to, let's say, about $21.60. So that is just one thing to be aware of, because we know what's going down inside of the extended hours. It is not the same amount of volume that we have during regular trading hours. So if it's down 12% in the after hours, there's a good chance at the open it'll probably be down around 16 to 18%. And for Lucid to turn around and look bullish again, it's going to have to come back to at least $27. This is an area where we've been shown to have some support and where I could see more demand coming in. But for the most part, it is definitely not looking good after those earnings results. So now let's go on to the short interest information. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for Lucid. As we scroll down further on the page, green rows indicate new positions, while red rows indicate closed positions. So when we take a look at the recent filings for the 28th, we're going to be focusing on the ones that are the most noticeable because we have a lot. And it's not surprising because we have seen institutions have been loading up heavy as well. So now when we see JNL Series Trust, they purchased just under 751,000 shares. We also see Blackstone Alternative Investment Funds with a short position of 224,500 shares. We also have RYVLX that purchased 93,581 shares. As we scroll down further, we also see the NASDAQ 100 Fund Investors class that purchased 216,367 shares. And we also have a sizable position here from RMQHX that purchased 48,428 shares. So what we could see overall in general, institutions have been loading up quite a bit. And then when we take a look at the short interest, the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 57.49%. And then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 6.53 million shares. Scrolling down further on the page, the short shares availability is at 250,000, updated 5 minutes ago. And then for the short borrow fee rate, today, being at 8.81%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 24th, it was at 55.06. And then for the close of the 25th, being at 57.49. So what this shows us right away, Lucid does continue to have short squeeze potential. Now let's move on to the order flow distribution. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for Lucid. So we see here on the inflows at 340 and then on the outflows at 227. And keep in mind these numbers are in the millions. Taking a look at the breakdown, on the large it was 79.35, on the medium it was 145, and on the small it was 116. Taking a look at the outflow side, you can see on the large it was 1.55, on the medium it was 125, and then on the small it was 99.94. Taking a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you could see for today we had a big time inflow of 77.8 million. That is crazy. When we analyze the numbers even further for the small scale orders that tend to represent the retail side, we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at what happened on the medium, we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at the large, represents whales, institutions, and funds, we had a lot more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at the turnover ratio, it was at 3.08%. So this is a little bit higher than what we've seen previously. It's usually in that 1% range, but there's no surprise knowing that they had earnings inside of the after hours. So that adds to even more volatility. But one thing that was very clear though, we could see whales were loading up prior to earnings. And it's also part of the reasons why it experienced a very strong day. Now let's get into the final thoughts and we'll go over some more details as well. So for my final thoughts for Lucid, like I was speaking about in the previous video, there's a good chance it can make a move above $28. We ended up getting to $29, so that wasn't surprising whatsoever. And we also saw a lot of big money that was getting into the play right before earnings. When earnings came out, that's when the stock had quite the pullback, being down as low as 12%. As far as to give you guys a quick overview in regards to expectations, it was expected for them to actually deliver 200 cars at the end of 2021, but they were only able to deliver 125 cars. And then as far as for the guidance of 2022, which we talked about that in the previous video as well, they were supposed to be on track to deliver 20,000, but then they revised the number and said it's going to be around 12,000 to 14,000. So of course, this is not going to have a good reaction because this is priced in the valuation for Lucid. So knowing that they're not going to be growing at that same rate, even though they did talk about supply chain shortages, the market is not going to be happy about that. So if it's going to be down 12% in the after hours, that means going into tomorrow at the market open, it could be down towards the end of the day by around maybe 18% or 20% at the most, because we know as far as regular trading hours, that's where we have the bulk of the volume that is coming through. So I could see some stop losses being triggered and so forth, but we also have to take into consideration there were some good things that we had to take a look at. On the positive note, they did come out and saying that they're going to be opening up a plant in Saudi Arabia, so this can help with production overall in general. But like I've been saying in a lot of my Lucid videos, if you are going to be investing in this stock, it's a growth play, so you know you're going to have a lot of volatility. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs, and they are a car company at the end of the day, and they are going to be having their challenges. So you can't just be naive and say, well, you know what, this stock is not going to pull back. It doesn't work that way. Now, for anyone who's been an investor waiting on the sidelines, wait for an opportunity to get in at a really good price, because there's a good chance that this stock will fall below $20 very soon. Also, when we went on Fintel, taking a look at the short interest information, it does continue to have short squeeze potential. And then when we took a look at the recent institutional ownership, institutions are continuing to load up on shares. So this is why you need to do your homework and as well as your due diligence and find out if this play is right for you. For myself, I'm going to be setting up a stop loss around $19.50. My average cost is around $17, and I refuse to lose money on this play. And if it pulls back even more, then I could just buy in at a better price. I don't see any point just waiting on the sidelines, because this is going to take some time for Lucid to get past the challenges that it's facing, and I can move my money somewhere else and have my money work a lot better for me. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let's see how Lucid performs going into tomorrow. We'll talk soon.